what I wanted to start this segment off, which is all things entrepreneurship, is why people would go into business for themselves in the first place. Like, where are the benefits? What lies behind that besides, having an idea and thinking that it proves beneficial for some aspect or problem or something that they run into in their daily lives? What's the personal benefit that would cause someone to go into business for themselves?
Well, I think there's a couple reasons why people would decide to go into business for themselves, especially starting their own business opposed to going into a business that's already very well established, right? And I think when it comes down to it, it really comes down to what you decide as a person to do to really impact the world, right? If you think about people that are really successful, a lot of times the businesses that they start and then deciding to go into a business through the career of entrepreneurship, if you want to phrase it like that, is that they have a passion for something, right? A lot of times that's where it stems, right? Like
there's a history.
There's a history there of some sort. So to go to our discussion earlier, they might have found an opportunity or a problem, right? And it might be in line with something that they're also very passionate about, right? And then if you have the experience, the knowledge, and the know-how, right, and you learn a little bit about business, you make some connections, and you learn about cultivating resources and learning how you can actually make those changes and implement some of those things, right? You see how that all starts to work. And then you see, well, this is something that I'm interested in doing. This is something I'm able to do, right? Which is very important. A lot of people that work for companies and are in roles themselves that are very successful are successful in part because they enjoy what they're doing, right? Now, that's not the case for everybody, right? You can still be very successful and completely hate what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? But I bet you a lot of those people that are successful and hate what they're doing, they're only successful in a monetary capacity, right? Which is a goal, right? Don't get me wrong, right? Especially in a capitalist society, right? And the way we all function and live our lives, right? Money is very important. It is a goal, but it is not the goal.
It's a
right?
motivator.
It's a motivator. It's something that you can get, are able to do, right? But ultimately, it's what you're passionate about doing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it begs a whole different question of like, what is success for you as an individual?
Right, because when I think about success, especially in business, right, it's what's fulfilling as a whole, right? You go into your job, whatever you're doing, or your career, to be able to get money, to then live your life to do what you want to do.
Right.
Right? But if you think simplistically, right, why wouldn't you do what you love to do as your job,
as your
to
career.
make money?
Right.
Right? So, if I liked to talk to people for a living, right, or if I just love talking to people, right, I might go find a job somewhere that allows me to do that, whether it be, in sales or answering questions or, speaking in front of people about my favorite topic, right? There's different careers out there that allow you to do that.
Yeah. This idea of what makes you successful brings me into the next topic, but I have one more question for the entrepreneurship side of things, and that's, do you think that you need to know the business world to go into your own business and to create a startup or be your own entrepreneur?
Well, here, I'd say this. You don't necessarily have to be the end-all, be-all expert in all things that are business, right? What I would say you do have to do is you have to be aware of what you don't know. Like, that's the pitfall, right? Because just in any area, if you were a chemist or an engineer, right, there's different things that you have to be aware of, right? If you're an engineer, or if you work for a hospital, right? There's certain guidelines and regulations and things that you have to know of.
Right, and if you try to go do that on your own and you don't know about any of it.
Right. So the most crucial thing is to really just be aware of what you don't know, and where your strengths are and what your opportunities are, right? If you're great in kind of the processes of business, right? Like budgets and accounting and marketing and, creating a brand. And even that, like, not everyone's an expert in all different facets of a business, right? Like business management and running a business and creating a strategy is a whole ordeal, right? You have an operational look. You have to look at how your business is marketed and branded to people, how you're connecting to your customers, right?
And how many times do you hear about like these businesses that start as one thing and you have to be able to recognize when it's not going to work out and how to save yourself from that failure.
Right. And that's something that comes up time and time again too. There's always this big discussion about, when you start a business that's small, right? Which oftentimes you do if you're just starting out with a business idea, versus how when you grow and expand that over time.
Right.
And then you get to a certain point, and the way you make business decisions and have to approach what you're trying to do and how you make changes and the impacts that there are, it's very different when you're, say, a company with 10 employees, right, making a couple $100,000 versus you have thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of employees and you're making billions and billions of dollars, right? Growing a small business versus growing a very big established business is very different.
Yeah. I think there's also the factor of like that if there are already big name businesses in the area that you want to create, either a startup or something that you intend to be a giant corporation, you have to kind of see, why would anyone pay attention to you if this other name already exists,
Right. So here, you bring up a good point. Like, why do you go buy Coke versus Pepsi or Pepsi versus Coke?
Me personally? I
Yeah,
don't really
you personally.
care either way.
You don't care either way.
You like Coke more.
I do. I personally like Coke better. But I do enjoy the occasional Pepsi. But, no, but for many people, it's very brand specific, right? You go drink Coke because you like the taste. There's a definitive flavor and taste there.
Or you like the polar bear branding.
Or, yeah, maybe you're very connected with the brand, right? There's something about the brand that you're connected with in some way, shape, or form. Maybe you like their advertising. Maybe you like kind of the underlying sentiment about what they're really trying to do.
Which is a whole other segment of the brand itself and like what their job in trying to create something that someone will latch onto, get endorsements from people who they know will kind of draw in their core demographic.
Well, because if you think about it, right, take Coca-Cola, for example, right? They sell soft drinks, right? That's the business. They sell soft drinks. But, like, that's not what they're telling you they're selling you. They're selling you happiness, right? No, think about their commercials, right? Think about...
Right, it's all about, like, share a Coke with someone.
And the way that they're selling you happiness, right, and enjoyment is through the product of a Coca-Cola soft drink.
Yeah.
Right?
I find it funny that now every time I think about, like, the difference between the two, and, like, especially in terms of their ads, it's like Coca-Cola is still branding, like, share a Coke or, like, the polar bear or whatever, and then Pepsi is like, well, why not Pepsi?
Well, that goes into it, though, because, like, that's part of what makes a company different is you could have the same exact product, right? You could say, I have the same exact product as you on every single level, right? Well, what's different if your product's the same? Well, what the company's about and what the company's trying to do.
Okay, I think this is perfect because I want to jump into the next segment, which is a specific question, and like I said, it relates to what we were talking about with, what makes your business successful and what makes you successful. And now that we're talking about, you know, the product versus like the brand and the message,